I think so many of us have been there. You work relentlessly. I mean, you put in the long hours, you refine your craft, you are deeply committed to doing everything right, and yet you look around and you just feel like you're perpetually falling short.
While others seem to just coast to success.
Exactly. And you're left wrestling with this really profound question. Is hard work actually enough?
It's the age-old, deeply frustrating dilemma, isn't it? And it cuts right to the heart of motivation. So the question driving our deep dive today is, well, it's intensely personal. Why do some people seem to benefit from kismet, that powerful force of luck or destiny, while others just struggle endlessly despite what feels like superior effort?
And more importantly, how do you personally stay motivated? How do you stay happy in a world that so often feels, for lack of a better word, unjust?
That's our mission today.
Right. We're taking this huge existential problem, this feeling of being almost betrayed by life, and we're going to tackle it head on by synthesizing wisdom from, well, from all over.
Our sources today span modern psychology, self-help giants like Napoleon Hill and Dr. Joe Dispenza, the powerful framework of existential philosophy from Albert Camus.
And one of the most complete blueprints for action ever written, Krishna's philosophy from the Bhagavad Gita.
Our goal here is to move past that victim narrative.
Yeah.
We want to extract a really actionable framework that allows you to shift your entire focus from those uncontrollable things like luck or destiny to where your real power is.
Your mindset and your daily action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your controllable power centers.
So let's start by just unpacking this. We can't pretend Kismet doesn't exist. We have to acknowledge the problem first.
Oh, absolutely. We have to
Yeah.
start there. I mean, you have to validate the premise. Yes, destiny, luck, timing, socioeconomic factors, they absolutely play a role. It's an undeniable truth of reality.
It really is.
Some opportunities genuinely just fall into people's laps because of where or when they were born or just lucky timing. Meanwhile, others who are, arguably more talented and driven, they struggle just to get a foot in the door.
And if you don't acknowledge that external randomness, you're not dealing with the world as it actually is.
You're not. But the second we acknowledge that uncontrollable part, all of our sources immediately pivot. They ask, okay, since you can't control the investor who says yes, or the market crash that says no, where should you put your incredibly limited and precious energy?
And that's the key shift, right? It's all about focusing on the controllable elements.
That's it. You can't guarantee the outcome, but you can absolutely control your consistency, your level of persistence, your learning curve, and your daily effort. All of this source material just uniformly emphasizes that while failures are painful, I mean, they really hurt, they are essential feedback.
They teach you what didn't work.
Precisely. They guide your next action, which brings us to the core personal reframe you have to make to stay motivated in this quote-unquote unjust world.
The default human reaction when things go wrong is always that external comparison. We look at that successful colleague or that friend who got the break and we ask,
Why them, not me?
always.
And that comparison is just toxic. I mean, it is the single biggest killer of long-term motivation because it anchors your self-worth to someone else's timeline, someone else's circumstances.
So the core belief we have to extract here is this urgent need to shift from that comparison to self-growth.
Yes. Instead of looking outward and asking, why did Kismet favor them? Why, you have to turn inward. You have to ask, okay, how can I still grow today? What lesson did this painful failure teach me that I can apply tomorrow morning?
And if we can actually manage to make that shift, our sources are really clear. We have to redefine happiness itself.
You do. It can no longer be tied exclusively to that external success, to that big break arriving.
Because if that's your only yardstick for happiness,
You are signing up for guaranteed misery.
Mm.
Because that success is all tied up with those uncontrollable factors, that kismet we just talked about. Happiness, according to this new framework, has to be found in the integrity of the process, the joy of the effort itself.
And the small wins, the growth, the relationships you build along the way.
Absolutely. The character you build.
Okay, so this is where it gets really fascinating. Connecting that personal reframe to some really deep philosophical guidance. When you look at thinkers trying to cope with the unfairness of life, the message is shockingly consistent.
They all tell us to find meaning within the struggle itself. It's a universal pivot. When the results betray the effort, you have to attach your value system to something deeper than the result.
Let's start with someone you might not expect. Albert Camus, the existentialist. I mean, he tackled the inherent absurdity of existence head on. Life often lacks inherent meaning, and our efforts can seem futile.
Like the Greek figure Sisyphus.
Exactly. Condemned to push a boulder up a hill, only to watch it roll back down. forever.
That's the perfect analogy for the entrepreneur who fails after 5 years of effort, or the artist who gets rejected 100 times, that boulder rolling back down. That is the profound feeling of setback and injustice.
Yet, Camus's incredible instruction was that we must imagine Sisyphus happy.
Not because he's going to succeed.
No. But because happiness is achieved precisely by embracing the struggle, the task itself, rather than the impossible goal, the meaning is in the pushing. It's totally independent of the outcome.
And this idea gets this powerful human context from Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and concentration camp survivor who wrote Man's Search for Meaning.
An incredible book.
It is. And Frankl proved that meaning, not comfort, not success, is what sustains people through unimaginable suffering. If you can find purpose in your suffering, even in the unjust struggle, you can endure anything.
So that turns Sisyphus' struggle from just pointless repetition into purposeful endurance.
It does, which contrasts so beautifully with, say, the more aspirational narrative of Paulo Coelho in The Alchemist. He talked about pursuing your personal legend, your true calling.
And his idea is that if you're on that path, failures are just detours. They're not the end of the road.
Right, it reframes struggle as redirection, not defeat. It keeps you moving forward. And speaking of grit, you can't forget Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich. His entire premise is persistence and faith in the process. He emphasized that success often hides just around the corner from where most people give up. You need this almost blind faith that your effort, compounded over time, will eventually pay off, even if Kismet feels stacked against you right now.
So we have this existential embrace of struggle, the search for meaning, the desperate need for persistence, but the most complete blueprint for combining that radical action with radical detachment that comes from ancient wisdom, specifically the Bhagavad Gita.
This takes us right to Krishna's counsel to Arjuna. Arjuna was, well, he was paralyzed. The battle he was about to fight was overwhelming. The outcome was uncertain and frightening. He was essentially paralyzed by fear of the results.
Just like we are, paralyzed by the fear of failure or the fear of injustice.
Exactly. And the core instruction Krishna gives, it directly addresses this struggle between maximum effort and accepting external results.
What is that instruction?
It's the foundational verse of Karma Yoga, the yoga of action. Yeah. Karmenye vatikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana.
Okay, we absolutely need to break that down.
We do, because it's basically the whole deep dive in a single sentence. It translates to this. You have a right to your action, to your duty and your effort, but you do not have a right to the fruits of that action, the specific outcome.
Wow. That is so simple, so profound, and so incredibly difficult to actually live by.
It is. It means you throw 100% of yourself into the work sincerely, but you accept that the victory isn't guaranteed by your effort alone.
So this leads to some practical mental practices then.
Two interconnected ones, yes. They're necessary for long-term survival in an unjust world. The first is equanimity, or samatva.
Equanimity. How does that help with daily resilience?
True wisdom, samatva, means staying mentally balanced regardless of whether you experience success or failure. Both are temporary. If you get excessively elated by a win, if you tie your ego completely to that peak, you will be absolutely crushed by the inevitable loss.
So keeping the highs from getting too high so the lows don't feel too low.
Exactly. You see success and failure as temporary weather patterns. It keeps you operational and focused on the next action.
That makes sense. But the second practice seems, I don't know, it seems to contradict our modern ideas about motivation. If I detach from the results, won't my effort just drop? Why should I work my hardest if I'm not supposed to care about the outcome?
That is the critical question. And this is where detachment, or Nishkama Karma, needs to be clarified. Nishkama does not mean indifference or apathy.
Okay.
It means acting without attachment to the specific emotional payoff or the external reward. You put in 100% effort because it is your duty, your karma, but you deliberately lower the emotional stakes on the result, the phala.
So the effort stays high, but the emotional investment in that one specific outcome is low.
Precisely. Krishna teaches this because he knows results are influenced by destiny, past actions, and factors totally beyond your control. If you anchor your happiness to that external result, you lose your peace. By practicing Nishkama Karma, you find freedom from that anxiety.
Your self-worth comes from the integrity of your effort, not the randomness of Kismet.
That's it. And the final safety net here is the spiritual component. Devotion or bhakti. This is the practice of surrendering the outcome to a higher order, a higher purpose. It relieves that crushing anxiety of performance. If you feel like your failures aren't just personal breaks, but maybe necessary steps in a larger, even divine journey, well, the burden of those repeated setbacks gets dramatically lighter. You did your part. The rest is handled by the cosmos.
That is a phenomenal philosophical toolkit. So now the challenge is, how do we take the ancient wisdom of the Gita and the insights from Camus and Frankl and actually integrate them into a practical daily routine?
We need that synergy, using modern psychology to rewire the brain and the Gita to build that spiritual strength and detachment. It's all about habit formation. We want to interrupt that frustration loop.
Okay, so let's look at the modern psychology practices for rewiring the mindset. Let's start with the most basic one, the gratitude journal.
So simple, but so effective. 5 minutes a day. Write down 3 specific things you're genuinely grateful for. This is proven psychology. It literally forces your brain to notice the positives.
Which reduces the sting of failure.
It pulls you out of that victim spiral, where you're only focused on what Kismet denied you.
And then instead of obsessing over the outcome, we need to implement growth reflection.
Yes. Stop asking, did I succeed or fail today? Instead, ask, what specific thing did I learn today that I can apply tomorrow? This immediately shifts your focus from the external result, which might have been bad luck, to internal progress, which is always in your control.
And to combat that feeling of being perpetually unlucky, we can also leverage the power of the subconscious, right? Through visualization and affirmations.
Absolutely. Spend a few minutes visualizing yourself calmly handling a setback with grace. Use affirmations like, failure is feedback. My identity is my effort, not my outcome. This stops your subconscious from locking in that really damaging belief that I am unlucky.
Okay, so let's pair those psychological tools with the Gita practices to build that practical detachment. We can start the day with the morning sandkalp or resolve.
This is just a simple statement of intent. Today I will put in my maximum effort, my karma, sincerely, without worrying about the results, the phala. It sets an action-oriented tone that cuts off the anxiety loop before it even starts.
And then we can train that detachment muscle with the daily Nishkama Karma practice.
Right. Consciously pick one small, low-stakes task, washing the dishes, helping someone, writing an email, and just do perfectly, but without expecting any praise or acknowledgement or even a reply.
So you're training your freedom from result anxiety in a safe space.
You're practicing the joy of effort for its own sake.
Then in the evening, we reflect on equanimity, on samatva.
You just ask yourself, when that unexpected challenge came up today, did I stay mentally balanced? Did I celebrate a win with quiet satisfaction and treat a loss as necessary feedback? This trains your mental stability so Kismet's ups and downs don't hijack your entire emotional state.
And it's truly remarkable, isn't it? When you step back, the central philosophy we've built here echoes across every single school of thought we looked at.
Every single one, whether it was written 3,000 years ago or published last week. That's the universal truth we're synthesizing here. Modern thinkers are all arriving at the same conclusion as Krishna.
Which is that your inner state is the ultimate engine of your outer reality.
Exactly. Think of Dr. Joe Dispenza in Becoming Supernatural. He says you are not a prisoner of the past. By changing your internal thoughts and emotions, you change your future reality. His whole instruction is to use visualization to feel the success now.
To prevent that mental rehearsal of failure.
It's classic detachment. And it aligns perfectly with Joseph Murphy and the power of your subconscious mind. He taught that the subconscious just accepts repeated thoughts. If you affirm that success flows to you, if you have that faith in your process, you stop it from locking in that belief, I am unlucky.
Robert Kiyosaki, in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he recasts failure not as bad luck, but as an investment in learning.
Right. And he says this resilience is what separates the mindsets of those who succeed from those who stay stuck. You stop saying, I failed, and you just ask, what did I learn today?
And then you have James Clear's Atomic Habits and Ryan Holiday's work on Stoicism.
And both of them emphasize that success isn't one big stroke of Kismet. It's the compounding of tiny habits, your daily, consistent karma. And obstacles aren't dead ends. They're just fuel for the next effort.
So if we connect all of these threads, ancient duty, philosophical struggle, persistence, habit science, they all point to one single central truth.
The central truth is that your inner state creates your outer reality. Failures are temporary events, often influenced by external randomness. But a strong, detached, persistent mindset makes you fundamentally unstoppable. You control the input, the effort, and the learning.
And the universe, or Kismet, controls the final output. Your only job is to control your part.
That's all you can do.
So we took this deep dive from that painful personal struggle against injustice through philosophy, through ancient duty, and right into modern habit science. And it all centers on action and detachment.
And this knowledge shifts the power back to you, back to your daily intention and your consistent joyful effort, rather than leaving it in the hands of uncontrollable luck.
So if every major path to resilience, from Krishna to Camus to the modern psychologist, insists on focusing purely on the action, on the karma, and completely detaching from the reward, the phala, then consider this as you move forward. What if the ultimate measure of your success is not what you achieved, but the sustained, joyous, and unwavering persistence you brought to the task regardless of the outcome? That is the ultimate definition of an unbreakable spirit, and that is the question we leave you with today.